Information session on the Franco Thai Junior Research Fellowship Program. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Simon Grimley, and I work with the International Cooperation Department of Thailand's National Science and Technology Development Agency, which is why I'm sitting in front of this sign here. I'll be moderating the session today, and NASD is very pleased to be hosting this event in partnership with the French Embassy here in Thailand, as well as with EURAXESS ASEAN. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. Today's session has been organized to provide you as much information as we can about the Junior Research Fellowship. So please ask lots of questions. And you can do this by typing your questions in the chat box to the right of your screen. And we'll also have time for discussion at the end of the session today, where you can ask additional questions then. We will do our best to answer all the questions as we go along. And if we are unable to do so, you'll be able to contact the presenters directly following the event. And we'll also share the presentations from this afternoon, all the presentations with you. So let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our first presenter today. His name is Dr. Guillaume Da. He is the Attaché for Scientific and Higher Education Cooperation at the French Embassy here in Thailand. And he's joined by his colleagues, Mr. Benoit Talou. So let me hand you over to Guillaume, and he will introduce you to the Junior Research Fellowship Program. Guillaume?
Thank you very much, Simon. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Very nice to be with you and to have this opportunity. Thank you very much to the team and as the team. And in fact, we are 3 from the embassy. There's also Benjamin from Campus France, just for your information. So it's a great pleasure, of course, for us to be here and to just to give you some as Simon has mentioned, some ideas, some description of the program that has been set up more than 10 years ago, actually. At the embassy, but also in coordination with local authorities here in Thailand. And so the idea actually of this program that I will talk just after this very short introduction is to give some opportunities to young researchers for early stage career moves and international collaboration. So this is the target, I would say. Is really the public and the people who are eligible, fully eligible to apply, are people who have already accomplished a doctorate degree, a PhD degree, or almost finished before the submission, before the departure, actually, and then to have the possibility to go to France for that. So, of course, it's a mechanism. So we will just maybe briefly present you with Benoit the general aspect of it and some practical details. You may be very familiar with that, but I would be happy if you can share the screen with the presentation. I cannot see the presentation right now. Where is it? Try to see. Sorry about that. Oops. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kunapawan. Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. So I don't know if everyone can see, but basically it's really focused on this particular program. So if I may just ask you to go to the next slide, please. So we are talking about a program, as I said, that has been set up some time ago and has also supported more than almost 150 actually young researchers, as we say, young fellow. And on average, actually, it's from 10 to maximum 15 actually laureates per year. It's an annual actually call that we will describe to you. And the idea, as I said, is to engage some new collaboration or to reinforce existing collaboration, but to have this capacity of being supported for the mobility for the duration of your stay in France in the laboratory. So it's from 2 to 6 months, right? So it's really, of course, related to eventually a short stay to discover the laboratories, but also to consolidate some more consistent proposal in research. So the call has been launched on the 26th of August recently, and now it's time for application, and you have like 2 months for applying to this program. So, and this is open to any kind of researchers in Thailand. So it's really related to research perspective. Next slide, please. So in terms of domains, and we have, of course, analyzed like the number of laureates from the very beginning of this program and who have benefited from this program, right? And just to give you and to share with you some figures here, I think on the center of this slide, you can see that main domains, they are on biology, engineering, earth and space science, physics, but also agronomy, animal, plants. I would say it's quite diverse, and it's really much in line with the priority, if I understand well, of NSTDA researchers. But it's open, and by principle, open to any kind of good proposition and based on excellence of research, right? And how do we do that? Actually, once we receive the application, we send from the French embassy the applications to the pool of experts based in France. So it's like a peer review process. Let's say it's anonymous evaluation of each of the projects. And each of the project will be analyzed, examined by researchers, so by peers, specialists in the field. We have a couple of, hundreds of experts in France under the Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation. Those are the people who are evaluating this kind of program. So, of course, at the end of the day, at the end of the evaluation, we have a general idea of the ranking of the project, the different applications received. But again, if today you are considering like sending an application, then it can be in any kind of field, right? And the question that would raise is where to go, if you have some contact with French laboratory or not. I think we can help you. Next slide, please. So you may heard about France, and France is a complex actually structure in terms of higher education and research. But basically what would like to share with you today is there's multiple forms and nature of research organization. You have like the public or the private, of course, universities, exactly like in Thailand, but you also have a research organization or research agencies, like, of course, equivalent to NSTDA, for example. And you may have heard about the CNRS or IRD or CIRAD, those kind of organization. They are specialized in some fields, IRD for sustainable development, for example, and health, CIRAD for agriculture, agronomy, or CNRS is comprehensive research, right? So there's research organization and there's universities, but there's also higher education establishments like engineering school. But engineering here is slightly different than the engineering school that you may found in UK or in the US, right? It's equivalent to research and teaching organization in very close contact with industries and companies. So next slide, please. So of course, we're happy, of course, that some of universities were ranked from the 1,000 of the top universities. You may have heard about Saclay or PSL or Sorbonne or University of Paris. I mean, among like in France in general, located in France, you have higher establishments that have been fully restructured in connection between universities, research organization, clusters, and so on. So it might be very complex. So the best way would be to locate a laboratory. As a researcher, I believe that you can identify some people through publication, but there's also other ways. Next slide, please. So I let maybe Benoit to follow up the presentation, and that's one of the tools that can be used to locate some laboratories. Thank you, Benoit.
Thank you, Guillaume. As Guillaume mentioned, the promotion of French higher education and French research abroad is operated by Campus France, which designed some tools to help foreign partners to being aware about what we do in France in those subjects. So Campus France creates this website you can see on the slide, where you can find all what we call doctoral school in France. The specificity in France is that doctoral school are actually structured within the universities, where a PhD student do manage their research. But there is doctoral school group all different laboratories. So basically, this central website gives you the opportunity to find all the doctoral school and departments of research in all different universities. It will help you to identify potential laboratory and according to your field of research and interested student. Next slide, please. In the same website, you can find too the specific offers of each doctoral school. Sometimes doctoral school do focus on some specific subject and do have some needs for researcher or PhD student. So you can find on this website, in the same website, some PhD student, PhD subject or postdoc training, which is actually the part who interests us for in the framework of the Young Fellowship Program. But this is for very specific subject wanted by the institution. So in the website, the doctoral school regularly publish the different subject they are into looking for resources, human resources. Next slide, please. Still, as Guillaume mentioned, aside of the university, or rather in partnership with the universities, you can find many different research institutes. All those, you can find a few examples on this slide shared on your screen. And each institute are specialized in different field of research. You have CNRS, which is a kind of very diverse, transversal institution for research. You can find within the CNRS 11 research institutes covering different scientific subjects, and you have other research institutes more specialized in different fields. You mentioned IRD or CIRAD. It's interesting to mention those two institutes because those institutes are actually represented in Thailand, so it could be very easy to put you in touch with them. But feel free to contact us if you need to be helped to find a specialized institute of research in any subject. Be sure we have the resource in France to help you to have a project of research within one of the research institutes. So you have a very few examples of institutes on this slide. Next slide, please. So very practically speaking, concerning the program, the call for application is open, and the deadline is on the 26th October. You can see the requirement to be a candidate. I've been a Thai national, and I've been graduated PhD before February 2022, and no before 2017. So it's addressing to young researcher based on the PhD graduation, not on age. The project has to be conducted in a French laboratory research institute. Among those you can find on the website or with the help within a research institute. And as Guillaume said before, this is the selection is made by peers in Paris based on a criteria of excellency. There is no discrimination based on subject. Only excellency is taken into account by specialists who evaluate the application. The results will be delivered on late February for departures starting April 2022. You can find again the contact and the information in the website here in the screen. In your application to be sent at the mail address you can find. Next slide, please. So there is here a list of non-exhaustive list of the actual benefits of the program. First, coverage. The travel are taken by the benefits of the program. We're going to a monthly allowance of 1,500 euro. This is 300 euro more than previous year. The program do support the fees for visas as well, and health insurance. As said before, this program is aiming to initiating cooperation to strengthen cooperation between France and Thailand in the field of research. This program exists in order to support research mobility and to encourage co-publication and to help for networking and building collaboration in the scientific research domain. So after this kind of mobility, there is other program existing operated by the Campus France and the French Embassy. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. Here you have a calendar of different co-funding program. We just closed the application for the PHC SIAM, which aim to support research team on both sides, French and Thailand, to support mobility of research teams in a common project. So the call just been closed recently, and the selection process is ongoing. And this program is operated every year. Same for the Franco-Thai scholarship program, to address to students, for master and PhD students who want to have formation, master or PhD level in French university or higher education institution. And the call is about to be open. And then the third one is the one we're presenting to you today. And all of those programs are accumulating. It's not because you have one that you can't participate to other. And all those program aims for the same thing, is to strengthens cooperation and networking between the French scientific community and the Thai research scientific community. Well, so feel free to contact us if you want to have more information about this program. Next slide, please. So thank you very much for hearing what we have to say about this program. We encourage you to apply if you are a young researcher and if you are willing to participate to the cooperation building between both Thai and French scientific community. Feel free to contact any person listed in this slide. We gladly will help you with the project, as we actually work to support cooperation, strengthen relation in the scientific field between France and Thailand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benoit, and thank you, Guillaume. We have some questions that have come in. One, and Guillaume, I think you've answered this to some extent. So if you want to search for a French institution or French partner, is it possible using the Campus France database that you can sort by subject area, by research thematic, just to confirm that?
Yes, thank you, Simon. Thank you for the question, actually. Yes, indeed. Actually, you have multiple ways to find. And the first contact will be the most challenging one, I believe. It was an example for you to have an idea of this kind of platform, existing platform, to consult, right? The best would be to be maybe in close contact is to help you to identify. So there's platform, existing platform, but if you have a very specific, like I see on the chat from Kuntanachap, it's more specific, right? In history, sorry. And these are examples where we can also help you locally. And there's also, for example, in history, some researcher embedded here in Thailand in some institution. For example, here there would be some people who can answer your question through EURAXESS. EURAXESS is a French institute for contemporary research and history based in Bangkok. So typically, this question we can convey your message to the people here locally, and it would be more I would say easier for us maybe to locate the right laboratory in France. But of course, as a researcher, I would say that if you read on the regular basis some publication, you might also try to locate the affiliation of people in France through the publication. And again, this we can, if you have some difficulties to contact and no response, then we can also help you to do that through Campus France and through the embassy, I would say, at a larger extent. This is our role in a way to put you in contact. But definitely what is very important is to have a very clear idea and topic in research, at least to start the conversation. So for addressing this kind of question to the right people. And it's very, maybe the most difficult part would be to start. I agree with that. But we can try to help you on that. I don't know if I answer your question.
Thanks, Guillaume. I think, at least from my perspective, I think you did. Is there an age limit? I think I know the answer to this, but that's one of the questions that have come up.
We haven't ever fixed the age limit. So if there's motivation and you have finished your PhD for 5 years maximum, I mean, it's the age limit, I would say. So I don't know if some people start PhD at 60 years old, it's maybe possible. But no, there's no age limit. I mean, the idea again, and with France in general, through the French embassy schemes, just maybe I'd like to insist on that. What is very important criteria is excellence of research for a young generation. So means that the schemes, both Franco-Thai or PhD, is very and much more than very important to include young generation, your researchers, to build up some new collaboration. It's not exclusive, but that's a very big criteria. So I will add that criteria to what Benoit mentioned, excellence and also youth. That's why we dedicated a program to that.
Thank you, Guillaume. Another question here, I think this is a good question. What project or fellowship output are you and the evaluators looking for?
Yes, that's a very good one. There's multiple ways, actually, as it was written on one of the slides at the end, that there's different output. I just give you an example. And I hope that the alumni, and I thank you very much to them, and I hope that testimony will reflect that. But what I can see, we have seen a couple of times, is to launch a career. Let's say some people, they have a strategic way of doing research at the international scene when they have located the right laboratory. And I have in mind some researchers I met in Thailand in the past. They have started to publish on Nature or Science, at the very early stage of their research. So I would say this is quite an accelerator, right, for research. And I think that to prove within few years that you have the ability to publish international publication with a counterpart in France, I believe that's also one of the KPI from NSTDA, I believe. So that's something, very practically speaking, that can offer you these possibilities. And of course, like being engaged into the collaboration will bring you more, access, visibility, one, through publication, but not only through publication, and also visibility for projects and building up more consistent projects to prove that you have already initiated a collaboration. You can really use this as an argument for the next one. And next one can be different international collaboration. So I believe there's some output. Of course, personal output, I believe that to meet and be exposed to international research collaboration is also could be very positive. So I don't know if I give you enough, but I think that there's multiple outputs to discuss. Yeah.
Thanks, Guillaume. Here's another interesting question. This is from somebody who's developing a research proposal with a French institute that they plan to submit for the MSCA, postdoctoral fellowship. And they're wondering, can they submit the same project to this junior research program? Now, I mean, one answer I would have there is that one is a 2 to 6 month project in the case of the junior research fellowship, and the MSCA is 1 to 2 years. So I don't think it can be exactly the same proposal, but what are your thoughts?
Let's say this can be considered more as a grant, like a fellowship, right? The one that we are talking today. And so this is probably the conditions are not the same, of course. The duration is not the same, but it's maybe sufficient to launch something, of course, depending on the topic. 6 months is very short to establish a program. So I encourage you to start thinking about that before, of course, leaving. So it can be a 1-year program, Simon, like if you start to discuss with your counterpart and then you have like already planned for some research in collaboration for experimental work, for example, for a certain period of time that can be fully combined with other projects. So it's individual and limited to what it is, means in terms of budget, and that's not a contract in terms of MSCA, like like the postdoc. And just to note here, because you offer me this possibility, that it is not a postdoc contract. It is like more a grant, right? And so you won't be like an employee, right, for a certain time in France. It will be more like a grant. And with a specific, of course, privilege for housing and for being there, and with like visa of research will be free and so on, but you have a specific status here. So yeah, that can be combined, but that's not the same. That can be complementary, I believe.
Maybe just a couple of other quick questions. French language requirement Is there any? And would that, if you had French language ability, would that strengthen your application? Or really you're just looking at the research excellence, the language is not a factor?
So in terms of criteria for selection, it's definitely not a criteria, of course, French language ability, proficiency. And I believe that so far, like English language is like the common language for research collaboration. So of course it will be fully English and English, only English, of course. But some topics maybe might require, if you talk about social sciences and so on, maybe require some more specific proficiencies. But this is not a criteria for, at least for us and for the evaluator as well, not at all.
Another question, Guillaume, and again, I think I know the answer here because you just, in the earlier explanation, does the program provide funding to the French host as well? Or is it strictly a grant for the Thai researcher?
So for what it is in the frame in these schemes, it is not for the hosting institution. It's a grant, and but if you consider the grant, so it's the ability to live decently in France, to have access to some housing, to be able to be in a laboratory. And that's true. And that's a right question, Simon, because sometimes, of course, like the hosting institution, they would ask and they would explore to find some bench fees. So it doesn't cover bench fees, for example. So that's something, of course, that need to be discussed if it is the case. But in general, it's mobility program, right? So from this side of the budget, it will not cover the bench fees.
On to hear from those that have benefited from the program. This is somebody asking that they received their PhD before 2017. They're looking for other Franco-Thai programs. Any suggestions that come to mind?
So yes, I mean, there's multiple ways of finding some schemes. I would like to mention here that through the French embassy, in terms of bilateral mobility, I think we will hear more about EURAXESS and other type of mobility. So just to focus on this bilateral mobility at first is actually the programs locally developed with a Thai government, right? And as agencies and so on. They are for young generation, as I said, students or young researcher or experienced researchers. So you have the PhD SIAM. So far, this is also a long-standing relationship that allows Thailand and France to develop that program. And interestingly, actually, it has been developed as a single program at the beginning, PhD SIAM. And this part for individual fellowship, I mean, has been extracted from the PhD SIAM. So it's just to encourage and right. So PhD SIAM, yes, if you don't have if you have like you are more like mature researcher, then a PhD SIAM would be an option. But there's many other options. But what is good here, and I'm surprised that the question did not raise yet, but I'm sure you will ask me, Simon, but the success rate. Success rate means that it has been designed for bilateral relationship, bilateral cooperation first. Second, it's for Thai citizens, and the number of chance to succeed actually is quite high if you compare to other programs. Let's say if we receive 40 applications a year, out of this you have up to 15. Just calculate that the success rate is high. If you have a good project, I mean, you have a lot of chance to succeed, right? Of course, we will take into account the excellence of the program. So it will be marked like A+, A, B, C, D, right? But if your project receive a good evaluation, I think there's quite a good chance to try without a lot of investment, really. I think investing into the contact, developing the contact at first, then after the project proposal, I'm not sure it's a very, very, difficult exercise, and at least it is necessary for research to do at this scale a research program, research project. So yeah, success rate is high. Why not trying? Try never hurts, right?
Agree. And I think, as you said, I mean, the purpose of this program is to kickstart, to initiate some collaboration. And I think in the next session, we will hear from two Thai researchers who have benefited from the program, and I think they can not only show how this helped their career, advance their career, but maybe can also address this question that was raised earlier about output, what is expected, and what in fact did they achieve. So I'm pleased now to introduce the first alumni testimonial, I think we've called it. And this is Dr. Barin Kurtsup, who is a researcher here at NSEDA and at NECTEC. And he had a junior research fellowship in 2017, so 4 years ago. So Dr. Barin, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you, Simon. Do you hear me? Okay, good. Can I share my screen, or Miss Apawan could share the screen? Or maybe I share the screen.
He's trying, I think.
Yeah, I share my screen now. Okay. Okay, you see my screen now?
We can see that.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I start because I have maybe 10 minutes. So first of all, let me introduce myself again. As Simon said, I got this fellowship in the year 2017. I'm working as a researcher at NECTEC. And my topic at that time is to design some machine for electric vehicle application. And my hosting laboratory is in Nongsi, University of Lawrence. So today I would like to make it short. So I would like to share some of my experience before get the fellowship, during the time I spent in France, and after that when I came back to Thailand. So let I start the first one. Before I got this fellowship, actually the first very important topic is about the question, what is your interesting research topic? So this is the first priority that you should have in mind before you contact the professor. I say that in case you have no contact with any professor in French before, I think it is very important. And for myself, at the time I submit the proposal, I have some basic research in NECTEC, and I use this research to contact with the French professor and to ask them for the support. And he also very interested to my research topic. So that is the point that we can start to discuss each other after that. And who is your hosting laboratory? That is also very important. For me, myself, as I told at the beginning, I have no contact with any professor in French before. I have no experience in French university. So how I can contact the professor to apply or to submit to this fellowship, because it is very important issue. The committee would like to know where you want to take to do the research in French. So for myself, because I have no contact, at that time, the French professor came to Thailand, and they arranged the seminar, and I interested in that seminar because the topic of the seminar is quite related to my research topic. So I joined that seminar, and after the seminar, I have the chance to talk personally with the professor, and I share my experience and my project that I'm doing here to the professor. And the professor said, it's quite interesting. Can we keep in touch? After he went back to French, we still have sent some email. We also share some experience in this topic. And when the fellowship have been announced, I saw the chance to make the closely cooperation between my organization and the French university. So at that time, I start to write the proposal. That is come to the third step, how to write the proposal. I think would be great if the proposal can be like the win-win research topic. What is the win-win research topic in my meaning? Win-win research topic is that I myself and my organization would get some benefit from this project. And also the French professor also would get some benefit from this project as well, not only us. So when I discussed the research topic with the professor said, okay, at the moment, there is no any researcher doing this topic before. And if I got this fellowship, it would be great if I can initiate this project with his laboratory. So that is, I think that is the good situation. The professor can support me very much in every way that he can. He can write the recommendation. He can give me the support to write a good proposal as well. So that is also the very important procedure to apply for this fellowship. And last but not least, for this step, you should get some support from your organization as well. As I discussed with some of my colleagues, some colleagues said that sometimes when they work in some organization, maybe it's not easy to how to say to leave your organization for a certain period. I think for 5 or to 6 months is not quite a short period. Yeah? When you leave for organization, that means you need to have someone to work for you in your organization. So that is why we need to discuss with my laboratory, with my colleague, with my leader in my group before I apply for this scholarship. Before, if I don't allow to leave for I don't know for 5 months, so it's impossible to continue this fellowship. So it is 3 steps that I think I would like to share my experience. And when I got the fellowship, so that is the good opportunity to get this fellowship. So the next step is you need to discuss with your organization how to get something like the official allowance to do the research in French. Because as I said, to leave your organization for 6 months, for example, it's not easy for some organization because you are missing one researcher to be responsible for any kind of the project. So for me, the internal procedure is also very important. It's not easy as well. But as I said, for NASA, I think that is the good chance because the NASA organization can support any researcher to do the research in other countries. So that is the good thing. Or even in the university, maybe some committee in your university also support the researcher to do the research outside the organization as well. But that is the one thing that you need to keep in mind. And the next one is where to live in France. Yeah, as I know from my experience, sometimes it's not easy to find some apartment or some place to live during the research. So for myself, I have the chance to talk with the professor, and the professor also helped me to find some accommodation in France. Yeah, that is you need to think about also. And for my life at the fellowship in France. So for myself, actually at that time I got the scholarship. I have one baby, and I think that I need to bring my family with me, and maybe someone would like to know that it is possible to do the research and by with your family in France. So I can say that of course it is possible, and I have already proved that. Yeah, because at that time I also stay in France with my family. So if you can, but I can tell that the fellowship itself is not support the the money or the budget for your family. So that is you need to all organize by yourself. Yeah. So I say that it is possible, and I can say that it would be very successful to bring the family with me, because not doing only the research. Yeah, we need to keep the family aspect as well. And the last thing that I would like to share is how to contact the professor during my stay in French laboratory. At that time, because the professor is quite busy during the day, so for myself, I need to make the appointment with the professor maybe after the working hour, for example. And the one thing that I try to contact the professor is just to join or to participate in his class. So it is possible. It's not only to contact with the professor, and also to learn how the researching lifestyle in France as well. So that is also very important. And of course, when you stay in France, not only to do your research, yeah, I highly recommend that you should learn the French culture as well. In everywhere, I can say that, not only in your laboratory, but you should learn how to say, to join some I don't know, to go to sightseeing, or because in myself I stay with the host. So during my stay I also can discuss and can join some French culture with my host as well, and the host is very nice. So he or she can recommend me how to um, stay in Nancy very well. He recommend where to go and what is the festival very interesting in the city. So I recommend, if anyone get this fellowship, don't forget to learn French culture. Yeah. Maybe I have a couple minutes. So I would like to share after I came back to Thailand. Yeah, first of all, you need to report your fellowship to your organization. So, and actually you need to support one report to the Campus France in Thai as well. That is the task that you need to do after you come back to Thailand. And after that, you need to continue your cooperation with your professor. That is also very important, because when I got the chance to do the research in France, so I can learn how to cooperate with the professor in deep. So, and the professor also very nice. He also like the Thai people. He said that it's very good to have the good cooperation between NASDA or NECEC with the lab in the Nancy. So at the moment, I still have the contact with the professor. Actually, in last year, we also have some idea to support some proposal to apply for the French government to support one project. But due to the coronavirus situation, so this project has been proposed. So I hope that in the future, if we have a chance, so we could have some cooperation between NECTEC and lab in Nancy in the future. Yeah, even you don't have the cooperation, but you need to keep contact with your professor. That is also very important. But last but not least, for my experience, when I came back, I always encourage the young researcher to apply for the Franco-Thai fellowship in any way as as well, because I have experienced that. I got very good, very nice experience during my fellowship. So I recommend the young Thai researcher to apply for the Franco-Thai if you have a chance. So maybe that is all for my side. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barin, for an excellent presentation and very, very encouraging words. So I think people can learn a lot from your experience. Before we go to the Q&A related to your presentation, maybe we'll hear from our next alumni of this program, and then we can spend a bit of time discussing their experience. So thank you again, Dr. Barin. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Panrampoy France, who has been in France for many years now. And I think her time in France was really sort of initiated through this Franco-Thai fellowship. Let's hear from Dr. Jibby, and she'll tell you, share her experience with you. So, Dr. Jibby, over to you.
Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, Jibby. It's a bit
Okay.
quiet.
It's too quiet. I'm sorry.
No, it's good now. It's all good.
Okay. Okay. So can you see my slide? Or
Can you make it full screen? Yeah. There we go. Perfect.
okay. So so it's my turn to share my experience. I'll try to keep it short. So I got the Franco-Thai Fellowship in 2014. Yes, 2014. And what I would cover today is three things. Similar to Burin, some part that Burin's already covered, so I might just skip through it quickly. For me, I will show you how my path is a little bit different from Burin, but I'll show you how I contacted the host institute, or actually how I get contacted with the host institute, and how I developed the proposal. And also the second part is the living in Paris, how I found an accommodation. As Burin said, it's difficult to find an accommodation in France, especially in Paris, and how I survived the language. I have to say how I survived, because I did not speak any French before I get to Paris. And the benefit of the Thai Franco fellow that opened doors to other European funding opportunities. That allows me to be here now. So for the finding the host institution, from my path, I graduated in 2011, and I came back to work at biotech in 2011, and in 2012, because I graduated from the US, so I have no contact with any institute in Europe. So I have participating in the FP7 program. Sound like this? Oh, this is a long time ago, almost 10 years ago. Oh. Then I participated in Science Slam, and then with the Science Slam, I get to go to Brussels, and then from Brussels to Institut Pasteur. I'll elaborate more on that, on how I get there. So with the Science Slam, I participate in with the rap song called "Pigs Don't Cry," and if you would like to check it out, it's on YouTube. You can just type "Pigs Don't Cry." It's Science Slam is the science presentation in a fun way. So it's a competition, and the winning, I won. The award is I get to participate in the conference in Brussels. So I went to Brussels in November, and because since I've heard about all the opportunity of European funding from FP7, so I make a note in my mind, and so I asked EURAXESS, can you help me get in contact with any institute in Europe? So I just want to, get my foot in the door. So they connected me to Institut Pasteur. So after the conference in Brussels, I visited Paris and go to Institut Pasteur to talk to some researcher there. And as in the picture, I actually, EURAXESS connect me to the lab of Sylvie van der Waaf. And when I went there, I discussed with her a little bit, and then she said, okay, I think with your background in research, I think you'll be fitting more with the Frederick Tongji lab, which I get to go also discuss with him. And then from then, I've heard that there's a Thai Franco fellowship open. So I email him. First, I talk to him, tell him what I do, what my knowledge, what my basic skill, and then what is his lab doing. And then we submit the proposal at the end of December 2013. And then I get fortunately, I got the fellowship, and then I joined Institut Pasteur in 2014. But how I developed the proposal, like I said, I discussed to Dr. Tongji, and this picture is from, I'm not sure which channel, but I have to say being in his lab, he's quite popular. A lot of televisions are filming all the time because he worked on meso vector and developing vaccine for a lot of epidemic diseases. Also, he's also, especially during the COVID time, we have, because we also developed the meso vaccine for COVID-19 as well. So the lab is quite busy with the television crew. So we discussed on my background knowledge, my basic, that I have a molecular background, and my interest in viral vector and rescue system. So then we finding the shared benefit of, as he can also, I can get to train on how to rescue and develop a meso, recombinant meso. And then he's also interested in using this vector with, how can I say, we can use against dengue. So we would develop this project together, and we submit the proposal. And since I think they think that this is a good proposal, so I got the fellowship. Thank you again. And so the next slide is for living in Paris. I'm glad that you increased the living cost to 1,500, because when I was there, it was 1,200, and it's quite living in Paris. There's just accommodation, just the apartment itself is already more than half of that, I have to say. So it's nice that you increase it into 1,500. So for my accommodation, I contact the institute. It's extremely difficult to find an apartment in Paris. Extremely, and especially when you don't have a bank account in France, because there's a certain transfer that you have to make, and it can only be if you have to transfer every month from the Thai bank to French bank, it's complicated. But with my institute, I can just pay cash, because what I stay in the Institut Pasteur resident. At that time, they still have it, but right now they don't have it anymore. So now a lot of accommodation in Paris will be through a Cité Universitaire, and also you can also contact EURAXESS. And another thing with the apartment in Paris, there's a lot of short-term contract, but there's not a lot of short-term contract. So it's quite difficult. So you have to really contact with your institute and how we can find the accommodation. And I recommend you to find it sooner or contact them sooner, because I don't know how to say this, but everything in France, especially in a document process, take a little bit of time. So start your process earlier. And for basic survival skills, as you know, I have zero French. So maybe but I have to emphasize that with zero French, there's no problem on working in the institute, because a lot of time we use English, as you can see, is in an international institute. But like Burin mentioned, with the culture, you know, first thing you have to say bonjour. So just the simple bonjour, merci, and all you know, hi, thank you, all that. And maybe if you can just get yourself familiar with some words that use a lot. And the Paris survival skill #1 is the metro. They have the saying of metro boulot dodo, which mean that this is the Parisian life. You wake up, you go to metro, and then you go to work, and then you come home and you sleep. So the important thing in Paris, how to get everywhere, is metro. So you need to kind of know how to look at the sign, where to get the tickets and everything. And also keep an eye out, as Paris is a big city, so pickpockets and all that. And I've heard from a lot of friends that visited Paris, and or myself, I haven't got the pickpocket, but I kind of seen when it happened. It's very often. But I'm not trying to scare anyone. It's okay. Just keep an eye out, just like any big city. So for the benefit, I have to say that Thai Franco opened several doors for me. And when I was in 2014, I was in the lab with Dr. Tongji, and because we have a good relationship now. In 2015 and 2018, he joined the International Advisory Board of Biotech, and also and the director of the biotech at that time, Dr. Kanya Wim and Dr. Nitsara, also visited Institut Pasteur in 2018. And then we have a tight relationship, and we develop more of, as you can see here, and in 2015, there's a lot of opportunity once you get yourself in the door, not just the foot in the door, just the whole body in the door. You get a lot more, you can see a lot of opportunity. So in 2015, I also participating in teaching in the assisted teaching in the MOOC, which is Massive Online Open Course at Institut Pasteur in vaccinology. And during the time that I spent for the Thai Franco, I saw opportunity that we could develop, because at that time, as you, I rapped about pig zone cry, because I was in the lab in the biotech, we developing the vaccine for pigs, which is a coronavirus at that time. So it's a coronavirus for pigs, and during that we developed a proposal to submit for to develop a the pig vaccine for, and we submit this to Marie Curie, and I also got the Marie Curie, and with Dr. Nitsara being a tight relationship, and then we see opportunity that we could have submit the Marie Curie RISE, which is exchange research program. Also in 2020, with the COVID, and with my knowledge of working with coronavirus, and I also participate in a measles vector for COVID. And in 2021, we just submitted a co-owner patent between Institut Pasteur and biotech. So I have to say that Thai Franco was open big door. It opened the gate for me for all these. So just want to end it with a quote from Louis Pasteur that science knows no country, because knowledge belongs to humanity and is the torch which illuminates the world, which is true, and science knows no country. And then Thai Franco program is really support this, breaking the boundary between countries for science. Thank you. So if you have any further questions, you can email me.
Thank you, JB. Excellent presentation as always, and lots of useful info. I think one thing that's really is very evident from your presentation, also from Dr. Barin, is how the Franco-Thai Fellowship led to many other opportunities. As you say, it opened a very, very big door for you. And I think this is a clear message from both of you. Before we turn to questions, I'm just wondering if Guillaume or Benoit, if you have any comments on the presentations from Dr. Gibby and Dr. Barin. Guillaume?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you very much for this presentation. It's very, very nice to have this testimonial. Thank you very much. So as I just don't want to repeat what Simon said, but it demonstrated and illustrated so much how the difficulties, right, to achieve at the very beginning in terms of how to adapt, how to be integrated, or how to live actually in France. But once you overcome these difficulties, being exposed to this, then when it comes to research and access to the different networks, then you can really accelerate, I think, your career. So I'd like to ask you actually both. Have you ever also tried or have you got some demand in the other way, like people coming to Thailand, try to develop some joint structure, joint laboratories, thanks to your now historical partnership starting in 2015, if I'm right. Or more recently, is it something you also discuss so far? Like the more one upscaling the collaboration, having more people involved into this process of collaboration. Thank you.
Yes, for us, for biotech and Institut Pasteur, I think after MSc Rise, we exchange a lot of staff as well. From staff from Institut Pasteur came to work in biotech, and then staff from biotech, several staff from biotech went to Institut Pasteur. So I think we also expand on there's a program on arbovirus that labs from Institut Pasteur, I think Louis Lambrecht, if I say it correctly. I still can't speak French very well. I think because he worked on Zika and dengue, so I think we plan on a further expand the collaboration onto that project as well. That's for my part in biotech.
Yep. For my side, after I came back from France, I have to keep contact with my professor, and as I show in a little bit in my slide, we try to submit some proposal to apply for another fellowship as well, but due to coronavirus situation, so this project has been postponed. But that is the good side, because just not only NECTEC and University in Nongsi, we also have the Thai researcher in King Mongkut University as well, because they also have some contact with this professor before and after I came back. So the professor said, okay, we should have some networking between us. So that is the thing that we're thinking about, to expand the cooperation, not only the NECTEC and the NONC laboratory. So at least to another Thai institute. And for one thing, as I know, some professor that I have to learn in France, he moved to some university in Canada. So we also looking for to expand this network to the new university as where the professor have been at the moment. Also, that is for my point.
Thank you.
Another message that came through, I think, from both of you is the fact that, well, that neither of you really had much contact with France before applying for the fellowship. So it's not as though you had a long-standing collaboration with France and then you chose to apply for the fellowship. And to me, that's an important message for those joining today, is that it's possible to get a fellowship with limited previous contact with France. Just any comments, Dr. Brin, Dr. Jibby?
Dr. Jimmy first, maybe.
So I mean, but now I think with the Campus France, because I didn't know before about the Campus France or EURAXESS, but now there's a lot of tools and linked and connection that you can start through obviously the website that Guillaume has showed before on the using the Campus France for searching, and also EURAXESS. Yeah, EURAXESS is also a great organization for helping the researcher in Thailand connect with the researcher or institute in Europe.
Yeah. For myself, maybe as I told in the presentation, I meet the professor at the seminar in Thailand. That is, maybe it's not the big chance to any researcher in Thailand to meet the professor in seminar in Thailand. But actually, I think any researcher in Thailand can have a chance to participate or to join the conference. So the conference is the good place to meet the professor around the world, not only in France. Yeah. But if you're interested to submit this proposal to get this fellowship, so maybe you should looking for some professor to join the conference and to discuss with him. And the professor is very, very nice. Yeah.
Well, you've talked about sort of support services, and Jibby, you've mentioned EURAXESS a few times. So we're very fortunate to have with us today Dr. Jenny Almaco. She's joining us from the Philippines, and she is the regional coordinator for EURAXESS ASEAN. And I think she can certainly, show you how EURAXESS can support you in things like accommodation, but also not just with the Franco Thai program, but with many other funding and fellowship programs from Europe. So, Jenny, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Simon. You can hear me?
All good.
Perfect. All right. So thank you so much for the invitation to present. My presentation is brief because I think both of the incredible alumni of the Franco Thai Fellowship has given their sharing already. But I wanted to reintroduce, if you've seen this already, EURAXESS, and introduce it if it's your first time. Certainly, it's nice to be reacquainted with and to connect again with Jibby. And I see, of course, the very active scientific attaché, Guillaume. And I think I see also from Campus France, Benjamin, who's lurking in the corner. So it's very nice to reconnect with you all. So let me tell you how EURAXESS can help you in your search to be the next fellow for this Franco Thai program. So EURAXESS, in a nutshell, is researchers in motion, as you will be or as you are now. It's an initiative by the European Union and also 42 countries in the European research area. We offer information and support for researchers wishing to pursue their research careers in Europe or with European partners. And it's a growing global network of researchers. And GB, you are part of it, and many others, and Green as well. So if you look at this, these are the countries that are members of the European Research Area. So of course you see France right there, letter F, a very active member of EURAXESS. And today I will talk to you first about EURAXESS ASEAN so that you see what our support services are for Asian researchers, like those also from Thailand. And then later on, I will talk to you about EURAXESS France and what EURAXESS France can give to you also as mobile researchers. So this is EURAXESS Worldwide. That includes us. It's a growing community of mobile research connected to Europe. So we are in the US and Canada, the Latin American countries, Africa, India, China, Australia, and New Zealand, Japan, and Korea. And this is, you know, apart from the EURAXESS centers all over the world as well. So these are the services for mobile researchers under EURAXESS. So if you look at EURAXESS, if you just Google is your friend, as it's always our friend. You go to Google and then you Google EURAXESS. Inside EURAXESS, you have a job and funding portal. We have a daily listing of thousands of research opportunities, fellowships, and funding offers in Europe. The Franco Thai program, we also announced this and we shared this, and I hope some of you who are in the room also was able to see this announcement from our social media channels and from the website as well. So from our last check, there are 13,697 research job positions available. So maybe after you do your Franco Thai fellowship, you'd like to do something else, as what GB has done and has continued to do, and Green as well, you can do that definitely through this program, through this portal. We also have a partnering tool where you can find a research partner. You can search for thousands of individuals, research organizations, and businesses among network members. Another thing that both of the alumni were talking about is the hosting database. So if you are planning to apply for the Franco Thai fellowship and you are looking for a host, the EURAXESS portal is a very good source of opportunities for that. You can just key in, you know, the keyword. You can put France, for example, or the program that you want to do, and then it will populate, you know, the possible hosting areas for you or places for you to do that. So as of now, there are a lot of institutions that are very much willing to host you in France. We also have information. There are comprehensive information for mobile research on living and working in Europe, you know, navigating, let's say, the metro, as what GB was saying, information about what to get, where to get it, how to get it, keeping yourself safe as well in Europe, because, you know, you can be anywhere, you can be the safest place in the world, but, you know, you always have to be careful. There's also personalized assistance by EURAXESS. There are over 600 service centers in 42 European countries offering personalized, free of charge assistance, very important, to mobile researchers. And there is also a network of national experts to facilitate research collaboration. We also have information on support and training. You can boost your research career with EURAXESS Worldwide. So these are just some of the events that we've had, you know, all over the world. And GB, I think, was a part of the Science Slam some years ago. And we also had the European Research Day, and we're very thankful that the Embassy of France, and of course, led by also the scientific attaché and Campus France, has been very active also in the last European Research Day. We're going to do this again for this year as well. And we also have the Research Career Development Series, which provides training and support also for researchers like you. And we're going to do part 2 of that. So for September to December, we have all of these activities. We have the Research Career Development Series, where we will have innovation training for young researchers. We will have a talk on citizen science. We have intersectoral researcher mobility transition from academic to industry, mental health for researchers, especially during the pandemic. It's very difficult. And, we have to make sure that you take care also of your mental health and also the leadership training. Number 2, you have Boost Your Research Career in Europe, practical and info sessions. And you have networking opportunities as well. We have the European Research Days, as I mentioned, but we also have Meet My Lab. We also have distinguished speaker series of all of these things. And we also have the diaspora stakeholder engagement. Soon, we will have the inaugural meeting of the EU-ASEAN Scientific Network, the Voice of the Researchers, and the annual meeting of the Scientific Diaspora. So just to discuss to you, there is EURAXESS in France, and it is the French Rectors Conference that oversees, this EURAXESS centers. So for now, there are now 60,000 researchers from more than 144 different countries that have benefited from the services of the EURAXESS France network, regardless of their research field. So even here now in EURAXESS ASEAN, you can ask us questions, but when you are there, there is also a EURAXESS that you can contact and you can ask for information. I will guide you to the links after this presentation, so you can see, which centers are available and what kind of services they can help you with. So the EURAXESS in France, they offer free and personalized assistance to international researchers and also, of course, their families, if you're bringing your family, as what Burin was saying. So of course, to prepare your stay, so assistance on entry, residence and work procedures as applicable, visas, work permits as applicable, residency permits, also to help you settle in France. So assistance in finding accommodation, as what GB was sharing to us, healthcare coverage, opening a bank account if you need it, if you're staying there for longer and you'd like to have it, to help you with the daily administrative procedures, so registering for Social Security, family benefits, taxes, and pensions. This depends, of course, on your situation. In the case of the Franco-Thai fellowship, you are only there from 2 to 6 months. So maybe most of the things that are challenges, when it comes to being a mobile researcher, you won't really have to face, but still, it is always best, to connect early on so that when you have like these administrative things, you have the support that you need. Also facilitate integration. EURAXESS in France also provides French language classes, cultural activity support in finding these things, sports, babysitting, and also schooling of your children if you're planning to bring your children to France. So now I'm going to click on the information site. Just give me a second so that I can show you the page again. Hold on. This is always the interesting thing about WebEx. You always have to click on the next application. So this is EURAXESS France. So if you look at that, it's euraxess.fr. And here, I searched on the EURAXESS centers, and all of these are centers in France, EURAXESS centers in France. So the coverage area, for example, we can take a look at EURAXESS in Normandy. Their expertise, it says here, their expertise, access to the culture of the host country, language courses, accommodation, banking, departure conditions, formalities, entry conditions and visas, health insurance, and medical care. So if you look at EURAXESS France, you get the contact number here. You even have the phone number as well. And then you can also click on this hyperlink and then also get connected through that way. So you have like several, right now there are 44 results for EURAXESS centers in France. So in GB's case, she was in Paris. You could be in, France is also a big country, and there are, you know, it's not just in Paris that they have like these excellent research centers, so it's all over the country. So if you are, you know, assigned to another place apart from Paris, don't worry, because you have all of these centers that are available for you. So that's on the EURAXESS Center. So all you have to do is go to EURAXESS and then just put, you know, the search code, and then that will populate, and then you can even look on the map. You can even see it on the map. Okay, so those are the information that I think would be useful for you. I'm gonna click now on the accommodation. So just to show you, in EURAXESS France, they have a special corner for accommodation, because that's what GB was saying and Burin was saying. It's challenging to get accommodation, especially for a short time. So you can visit EURAXESS France. You have the accommodation there. You know, there's housing there's the temporary solutions as well. You can contact your EURAXESS Center. And you know what is very, very interesting, which is very useful for you, is you actually have a housing guide for international researchers. That's available inside EURAXESS France website. I can also give you the link so that it's easier for you to find, but I'm sure it won't. I mean, your Google, as I said, it has been a best friend for everybody. So you can go through this, and you have all of these information about how to find housing, and you know, the support that you also need when you are in France. Okay, and I also wanted to show this site, but I'm sure Benjamin from Campus France can discuss this a bit more. There is also this site for students and researchers, international students and researchers in France. So there's a lot of information as well, which might help you when you're there and when you are planning to go there. So I'm gonna go back to my presentation real quick, so that I can just finish the next few slides. If you allow me, Simon, just a few slides more. All right. Okay. So I talked about the housing guide, and here how to find housing offers. Please contact the EURAXESS Service Center. Also consult specialized housing websites. And you can also even search on websites of local tourist offices. But feel free to be open about what you need to your colleagues and to your host institution. And here is EURAXESS. This is the team. Simon was actually a part of EURAXESS before, and he continues to be a very strong support to us. Thank you so much, Simon. So this is Dr. Susan Renzo Vasu, based in Singapore. That's her email. You can contact her, or you can contact me, Dr. Jenny Almaco, based in the Philippines. Actually, I'm supposed to be in Vietnam, but I handle Thailand and Vietnam mainly. So I'm really here for you. So whatever information that you need, please do contact us. And a very good luck and all the best in your application. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenny, for a wonderful overview of the various services offered by EURAXESS. I think one thing, Jenny, just to reinforce to the participants, these services are free. This is not a membership-based collection of services. So any of you joining the event today are welcome to take advantage of the various services that Jenny's outlined. So I think a clear message here is that you know, for those of you looking at the Junior Research Fellowship, there is plenty of support out there, whether it's Guillaume and Benoit here in Bangkok, you've got Campus France, you've got EURAXESS, so there's no shortage of people who are there to help you with your application. We're coming to the end of our event today, but I just wanted to turn the floor over to Guillaume for maybe some final comments.
I'd like to say thank you. I think really the comments, I think you really wrap up the comments, and I'd like really to thank also Jen. And I mean, that was so clear, complimentary, and respond to many of the challenges that was raised before. So yeah, I mean, we are here for you, actually, really. We try to, so don't hesitate, never hesitate to contact any of us. we'll try it sometimes and maybe try to insist on that. Eventually, if you don't have a direct and quick response. So that's, and if we could have this, of course, opportunity to present and diffuse that, I have just a question to NSTDA. So this could be seen afterwards, right? This session today. Is it something we can see afterwards?
Yes, the event is being recorded, and we'll also share the presentations today. I think we need to check with Dr. Barin and Dr. Jibby, but I've just got the okay. We can share the presentations. So,
excellent.
So we'll send you a follow-up email that'll have the presentations, a link to the recording as well. So all the information is there. Yeah.
As long as we can expose to ourselves to international context, we are we would encourage and try to help you on that. Thank you very much, and thank you also to our Pawan and NSTDA. Thank you very much for today. Really.
Okay, well, I think we'll draw this session today to a close. We hope you found it useful. You know, a couple of things struck me. I mean, one is that you don't need a lot of prior contact with France to get in there and apply. So don't be intimidated by the fact that you may not have an existing connection with France right now. I think that there's clearly lots and lots of support out there. You've heard, from Campus France and Jenny and EURAXESS, which is an excellent network for you all. So encourage you to join that network and take advantage of the various services. And the other key point from Dr. Barin and Dr. Jibby is the other opportunities the fellowship opens up. So this is not just a 2 to 6 month fellowship that ends with no future to it. This opens up plenty of other opportunities, or can do. So strongly encourage all of you today to consider applying for the Junior Research Fellowship. As Guillaume said earlier, the success rate is pretty good as far as international funding and fellowship programs go. So on that note, I would like to thank Guillaume, thank Benoit, and Dr. Jibby and Dr. Barin for their excellent presentations, and thank Jenny as well for joining us from the Philippines, and wish you all a very good afternoon. So thank you all. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.